But in dog company, he issued orders as if they were his own idea, without passing the buck or permitting any reflection on higher authority. It would take time before I learned to do the same. So when you pass that word, you can argue all day long up the chain of command. But once the decision's been made and now you're talking to the boys, that's your order now. That's your plan. That's your idea. You own it. This guy right here has a lot going on, which is awesome. Good for you. Yes. That's killer. Welcome to life, right? Now, a couple things, right? And I guess this might be a little bit of a theme tonight, but you got to make it fun, right? Instead of viewing these things like an oppressive grind, I mean, just the way that, you know, the mats, I go on the mats, I don't have time, and life is making huge demands, and I'm trying to do just gymnastics, strength training, but without neglecting my wife. And it's like everything is a grind. No, it's not. You have the opportunity to do gymnastics. You got a wife and you got a dog. That's awesome. As Echo would say, that's dope right there. So what, you know, instead of looking at them like that, let's look at them at what we can do to get more done. Okay, first of all, what kind of time constraints can you put on things, right? Force yourself to do some things faster, okay? For instance, reading first thing in the morning, I don't know. I don't agree with that. Like, why would you get up in the morning and read? Reading? No. End of the day. Okay, playing music first thing in the morning, playing music should be fun and enjoyable, as should be. So getting up and going, okay, I'm going to go play music, you're turning it into a labor, right? You're turning it into a labor. It should be something that's winding you down at the end of the night. So when you wake up in the morning, do something that requires some discipline and has you get after it a little bit and wakes you up a little bit more, right? You know, another thing is, you know, jiu-jitsu. This is a weird question. How fast can you train jiu-jitsu? Because I can tell you for many, many years, and also what part of jiu-jitsu is important to you and what part are you getting the most out of? Because for many, many years, especially once the war started, when I would show up to train basically at the end of class, and I still do this sometimes. I show up when Dean is done teaching, when Jeff is done teaching. Believe me, if I had unlimited hours, I would sit there and absorb everything that they have to say. I learned something from Dean the other day. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe what I learned from Dean the other day. I couldn't believe that I didn't know it. I couldn't believe that I didn't know it. I couldn't believe how well it worked. And I couldn't believe that bastard never taught it to me, which made me really angry. But that's the way it is. I've been training for 20 years, and he taught me a basic fundamental thing that I did not know. So if I could, of course, I'd be in there all the time, you know, learning, absorbing. Glover's the same way. Glover teaches you little things, and he goes, oh, you should do this right here. Oh, man, how did I not know that? So I would learn all I could, but I don't have much time for that. So what do? Show up when that stuff's over, and I go and I train. Yeah. Get it on. And how fast, that's what I'm saying, is how fast can you, what gets you the most impact in the shortest amount of time? So for me, I always feel if I don't have time to take an hour and a half class, that's, you know, a 10-minute warm up, 30 minutes or 40 minutes of instruction, 10 minutes, 20 minutes of drilling, and then half an hour of rolling or however long that all put together is. But I'm going to show up. For me, the most important part at this juncture in my jiu-jitsu career is the rolling. So I'm going to show up for that last, 40 minutes, 45 minutes, I'm going to get my rounds in. Maybe that's what you need to do, because you don't have time to take an hour and a half class with all that other stuff. So see if you can do that. The other thing you might have to do is prioritize and execute the extracurricular activities, right? Well, you got gymnastics going on, you got BJJ going on, you got reading, you got music going on. How do you bring those things together, or how do you prioritize them so that you focus on which one's going to be the most important? That's the bottom line, right? Because you might not have time to do everything, and so you might be just dabbling in all of them and not making any progress in any of them. Oh yeah. Huh. So that's not good. Another thing, how can you manipulate your work schedule, right? What can you do at your work schedule that you could squeeze something in? For instance, do people take a lunch break? I haven't taken lunch in the SEAL teams. I didn't take lunch. Why would you take lunch? Like, oh, I'm going to go for an hour. of time and go to a place and sit down and eat. No, I'm going to eat at my desk while I'm working. So I'm never going to take lunch. So maybe during your work, people, hey, we're going to go down and have some lunch. Cool. That's when I'm going to go do, 500 burpees or whatever. I'm going to go run to the gym real quick and get a workout and I'm going to do my sprints or whatever. Mm-hmm. So see what can you do there? Maybe you could get more work done in this time when you're waking up early because you want to get after it. Maybe that's the time when you should go to the job because no one's going to bother you. You can get a bunch of work done and then you can take a break from 7 until 9 when the rest of everyone's coming in with their coffee and want to talk to you. No, that's when you're working out or that's when you're doing something else. So how can you maximize it? I used to do this when we used to have to write evaluations for all of our guys, and it's a big pain in the Navy, and they have to be perfect, and they're getting recording guys' records. So you want them to be perfect. You want to take the effort because this is how the guys get evaluated so they can get advanced. So you want to take your time with it. But during we'd get, I was in charge, so I get these big stacks of evals that I have to go through, and it's correct. It's basically doing corrections of papers over and over and over again until they're perfect. And it's meticulous work. And so what I would do is during that time period, it would take like a month to get it done. I wouldn't work out first thing in the morning. I would go to work immediately in the morning, and while everyone else was either not there or I would work. And then when everyone showed up, at 11, I'd go work out during lunch. And just, if you want to come talk to me, because everyone always wants to talk to you, right? Everyone always got something to say to you.
Jamming you up. Yep.
You can't just leave me alone because I'm trying to work. But so how can you manipulate your work to maximize what you're getting out of it? Another thing is maybe take a little break from some of the activities. Maybe take a break from music. Maybe take a break or maybe you say, oh, you know what? I've been doing an hour of music a day. I'm going to change that. I'm going to do for the next month, I'm only going to do 15 minutes just to keep my skills maintained, but I'm not going to progress. And I understand that. Mm-hmm. Or maybe you take a break from the mats for 2 weeks. I can tell you, if you're training every day, a 2-week break from the mat, in many cases, myself, definitely, I take a jump up. I get better if I take a break. That's why travel for me, I don't like it when it goes on all the time, but I go away for 6 days and don't train. I come back and I feel a little bit better. I have some stuff gels in the brain. The other thing, okay, you got your wife and your dog. Spend time with them while you're doing these activities. Right? Your dog can go running with you, right? That's awesome. Your dog can come to the park, watch you do pull-ups, right? Your dog can chase the kettlebell that you're throwing or whatever, the shot put or the medicine ball. You can have, be careful if you're throwing your kettlebell around your dog. That might have been bad advice. And same thing with your wife. What, your wife doesn't want to do some jujitsu? My wife did jujitsu before she was pregnant so much she was coming to the gym with me all the time. She was training, and then let's bring it into the family a little bit. Get her in gymnastics. Get your Tim Ferriss acro yoga on with your girl, right? Yep. That's the same thing. Get her in the game. Have her lay down some vocal tracks, right? Got maybe little backing vocals from mama. Let's hear what that sounds like. And that way you're doing the stuff that you want to do, but you're bringing your family into the game a little bit. And like I said, man, have fun. Because all these things that you're talking about, even being a prosecutor, which I'm sure, like you said, embeds you in just violence and disturbing things all the time, and it's a challenging job, but enjoy that challenge, and how can you do it better, and how can you win? I'm going to have fun with it. And I had fun all the time. I had fun overseas. I had fun in Iraq. I had fun in the bowels of a ship that I was deployed on for 6 months. I'm going to have fun. And laugh hysterically at things. And it's the same thing with music and with working out and jiu-jitsu, man. You got to enjoy them all. And just like when you're on the mat, you're competing against these young monsters. Don't just try and compete with everybody. Just try and get better. Mm-hmm. Because that is winning. And that's what's going to make you better in the long run. Because that'll make you stick with things. Make you stick with them. Because if you don't enjoy jiu-jitsu, why would you do it for 25 years? If you don't enjoy music, why would you keep practicing it? So my final thought on this, man, my brother, have some fun with this stuff. As soon as I feel it, you know what I do? I go. Like I go. If I have I just default because sometimes what bothers me, sometimes you don't always have the opportunity. Like let's say I get an email Someone says, hey, I really didn't like the way this happened and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
It'll bother me. And especially it'll bother me if someone will say, hey, for instance, this is the kind of thing that would bother me is someone says, hey, you did this. It seemed like, you were putting me down in front of all these people. I would feel bad about it, right? And I'd be like, it would drive. And so the only way for me to get over it is I want to talk to him and say, hey, man, this is what I did. I'm going to send out an email to everyone to make sure that they know that was, it wasn't mine, say that you did a great job or whatever. Just try and make it right. But otherwise it burns me up and I have to confront it. The thing that bothers me, and I used to, I recognize this now. When I was younger, I might not recognize it. I would just sit there and I wouldn't know what to do. But now I know the solution. The solution is when something's bothering you, you go and you address the problem. Like my kids will do something and I'll be all angry about it. And I just go, oh, what I need to do is go and talk to them about it. Hey, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. Why did you do this? Here's the impact it has on the family. Here's the impact it has on your life. Here's some other opportunities that you might miss out now. Here's some things that you could do better. Here's some corrective actions we could take, whatever. The worst thing I can do is just sit there and hold it inside. Not a good thing to do. I actually took this question from Twitter and I answered the question in one word. You've lived a life dominated by doubt and fear. How do you step into bravery? Step. That's how you step into bravery. Step. Take the step. Step aggressively towards your fear. And that step towards your fear is the step into bravery. Because we're scared of what we don't know. And there is only one way to learn and to know, and that is to confront that fear. You have to step, you have to go. And this simple action, this simple attitude, it answers so many questions. So many questions. How do you get to the gym every day? You step. You go. How do you change your diet? You step. You go. How do you overcome fear of failure or fear of success or fear of fear itself? You step. And how do you face the fear of the unknown? You step. Don't wait anymore. Don't think anymore. Don't plan anymore. Don't contemplate anymore. Don't make any more excuses or justifications. Don't rationalize anything else. No, no, and no. Instead, be aggressive. Take action now. And what is the first action that you need to take? What's the first step you need to take? The first step you need to take is just that. Step. I'm telling you, guys, keep up the good spirits. And that is, it's impossible. I got to include this because I always had fun on deployments. I was saying this the other day. We laughed out loud like once a day in Iraq. Laughed out loud, hysterically at something. So for those of you that are civilians or don't have any comprehension of this kind of thing, guys that are in the military, they have a good time. Even in the worst situations, we have fun. You have to. And you can apply that to your job when things get stressful, when things start getting hard. As a leader, if you're just bearing more stress on everybody, it's not going to help. One of the best ways to alleviate stress is to have some fun, and that's exactly what's going on here. The guys are on patrol. Okay, we're not getting shot at, so guess what? Let's bust this guy's ass about missing his wife. No problem. That alleviates some of that stress. You don't need to just bear down and create more stress on your people. And I've been asked that. A couple of people have asked me that on social media. Can you tell us about, humor in as a leader? When do you use humor? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. We always have fun. And, there's obviously a time to be serious, but there's plenty of time when you're going to joke around and have fun and poke fun each other all the time.
Comparatively,
habitual comfort is what we experience.
Yes.
Habitual comfort.
Exactly right. Someone that gets tested.
I woke up early in the morning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Hey, I worked out real hard and sweated a lot. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Really? Is that all I got? I need to step it up, man.
Yeah.
I need to step it up.
Yeah. And I woke up early in the morning, or, I didn't get that much sleep, so my day is hard.
Cool.
Or
your foot's not freezing off your body.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, this is something that I hear a lot about on social media. More people send me messages on this, or Facebook messages, I guess, where they feel like they're kind of caught in a rut. They're doing their job, they don't really like it. What should I do? And I think this next little section applies to that. Back to the book. What is the main test of human character? Probably it is this: that a man will know how to be patient in the midst of hard circumstance and can continue to be personally effective while living through whatever discouragements beset him and his companions. Can you drive on? That's what it's asking. That job that you don't like? Good. It's a little test. Now, if you're in a situation that you don't like, you drive on in that situation, and also you figure out what your exit strategy is going to be. You don't want to go through life miserable.
Yeah.
You figure out, you start saving your money, you start getting another education, you figure out another job, you get yourself promoted, you do what you got to do. But don't let that monotonous job that you're not into that day, don't let that burden you down. But I'll tell you, you drive on, you have other options, right? You work those other options. But whatever it is that your job is, and you'd kick ass at that job.
Yeah.
That's what you do. The minute you start slacking, you're going backwards. Don't do it. It's not going to. What benefit are you going to get from that? You're going to get zero benefit from that. You're going to work your 8 hours a day. You're going to make your $12 an hour. Are you going to do it in a slack way?
Yeah.
Or are you going to do it in an awesome way?
Right.
I'm going to do it in an awesome way.
Yeah. And
that's what's going to get you promoted. That's what's going to get you taken care of. In the long run. There is, of course, that commonest of excuses for rejecting the difficult and taking life easy. I haven't time. But for the man who keeps his mind on the object, there is always time. Figure it out. About us in the services daily, we see busy men who somehow manage to find time for whatever is worth doing. While at the adjoining desks are others with abundant leisure who can't find time for anything. When something important requires doing, it is usually the busy man who gets the call. Haven't got time for that, huh? There's always time.
Yeah.
Always time. They lose track, and it happens in the corporate world as well. Where the head shed, they're dealing with stuff too, right? They're dealing with legal problems. They're dealing with compliance problems. They're dealing with financial problems. They lose track of the fact that there's a guy on the front line that's trying to fix a car or replace an air conditioner. That's the way it is. So you lose the vision of that. You lose track of that. So what was great about this admiral that I work for is in these big meetings where they would be talking about, hundreds of millions of dollars of expenditures over the next 12 years and various training commands and all this stuff, huge. And he would always say, how does this impact a SEAL platoon overseas? How does this help a SEAL assaulter go out and shoot a bad guy in the face? That's what he would ask. And that snaps everybody back into reality of what it connects exactly what this question is. Suggestions for leading command staff to understanding the ground level troops. You got to ask that question. In the business side, I've seen the same thing. The guys totally lose track of it. So you end up, you got to ask the question, hey, everything that you're talking about, this compliance thing and this regulatory thing and this new software that you're talking about, let me ask you a question. How is this going to help one of our frontline salespeople close a deal? That's the question. That's the whole reason that we're here. The whole reason that this big staff is here, the whole reason we have this building The whole reason we have this base is so that a SEAL overseas can close with and destroy the enemy. Or if we're a big corporation, it's so that this repairman can make it to a house and fix an electrical problem in a short period of time, efficiently and effectively. That's what we're all here for. So I think that's what you have to do. You have to keep reminding them of what's going on down on the front lines, what the mission is, what the men are doing, what issues are out there. Another thing you could take is you want to take these people with you, or you want to get anecdotal information. I know it's cheap. It's cheap to do this, but you go out and you gather anecdotal information that you can bring back to headquarters and say, hey, you know what? I know we're all doing a good job here. Let me tell you, the troops on the ground need this cold weather gear right now. They don't have it. Here's a message I just got from a guy overseas. They're up in northern Iraq. We thought it was going to be warm. Guess what? It's 32 degrees. There's snow on the ground. These guys aren't prepared for it. We need to get in this gear. Okay, so you're using anecdotal information to paint the picture of what's going on the front lines. Same thing with, if you're a corporate guy and you want to make sure people stay engaged, go out on a call with that electrician that's visiting a house on a where there's been a breaker blown and the guy's working through the payment system that you devised that you thought was so smart it doesn't get connection while you're out in the field and now he can't run a credit card. Yeah. You want to come back and tell the head shed that. Yeah. So those are some of the things. Another thing that you can do is you ask those questions all the time, and maybe you just come up with some kind of a mantra that you repeat all the time and that you sign your emails with that says, we're here to support. We're here to support the frontline guys. We're here for the frontline, or ask yourself the question, does this help the frontline? Every decision that we make, we got to ask ourselves, does this help our frontline? Does this help our frontline personnel? And I think that's what you got to do. Now, one thing that you got to be ready for on this, you got to be ready for someone to say they don't understand the big picture. This is what you got to be ready for, because I've heard this.
Wait, who's going to say that?
The corporate.
Oh, okay.
You go to the corporate and say, look, we got the guys on the front lines. We need to get them this gear. And they go, look, they don't understand the big picture. Oh, right. We can't afford that right now. Look, okay. I hear what you're saying. But be ready for it. It's an excuse. It's an excuse, and you got to be ready for it. And the way that you get ready for it, I've talked about this a million times, the way you get ready for it is you have ammunition. You have ammunition. You got to have your ducks in a row. If you're going to raise your hand and say, hey, here's what's going on the front lines, here's a problem that they have, you can't just back down when they say, hey, they don't know what's going on. They don't get it. They don't get that's a big thing they say in the military. They don't get the big picture. I would hear that threat and I'd say, you know what? Actually, we do get the big picture. We're living the big picture. You don't get the big picture. Here's the big picture. I got frontline troopers that need cold weather gear or they're going to freeze and not be able to operate. Yeah. The picture doesn't get any bigger than that. Yeah. Now, you can't, of course, come across like that. Right. And what you have to do is you have to look at it systematically and over a long term and say, this is a plan. And I've got a plan for the long term of how we're going to get these guys this cold weather gear in the future. But right now, we've got a little fix that's going to cover these guys that are in the field right now. You got to come armed with ammunition so that you can refute this common call that gets made, which is they don't understand the big picture out in the field, so don't worry about them. No, the only reason we're here is for those guys in the field. So let's remember them. You want to detach, step back, literally step back. If you're online with a bunch of people in a combat situation, literally step back. If you're in a combat situation, point your weapon at the sea, at the roof, at the sky, whatever. You're not going to engage any targets. You're going to step back. If you're in a business environment, step away from the computer. Step away from the terminal. Put down your pen. Back away. You're in a meeting, heated meeting. You need to detach. Stand up, back away from the table. But it's literally stand back and step away. Once you do that, you relax. Now, that physical part that I just talked about of literally stepping back, that's something that it's a physical reminder of what to do. You can get to a point in your life where you don't need to do that. Yeah. Or where you usually don't have to do that. But things can still escalate quickly to where even the most highly trained detached person still has to step back and take a wrap off and take a look around. So in most of these situations, especially when you're first starting to try and do it, physically step back. Physically do something that indicates to you as a person, and it actually indicates to everyone around you that you're doing this, Like when somebody stands up from the table and steps back, it's an indicator. Okay, he's taking a wrap off, right?
It's all dramatic.
We get it. Yeah, actually, we're trying not to be dramatic, but it's going to be dramatic anyways.
Yes, it is.
Now, take a breath, look around, and make a call. That's it. That's how easy it is to detach. Now, the actual hard part of detachment is being self-aware enough that you know when to detach. That's the challenging part, because they end up in the situation. By the time they go, man, I should have detached. Yeah, that's right. You should have detached. You lost your temper. You got involved. You couldn't make a decision. You got dragged into the weeds like everybody else did. If I would have, and I've done this plenty of times when I was training SEAL platoons, I would just go up to the leader who was getting dragged in a situation. I'd be like, hey, step back with me. I'd take them 2 steps off the line. I'd be like, look around, and then they'd easily be able to make a decision.
Yeah.
That's the easy part. The easy part is stepping back. The hard part is knowing that you need to do it, because it's like, I guess it's to use the stupid analogy of the boiling frog, right? Where you put a frog in water, you slowly start to boil it. Next thing it knows it's dead. It didn't realize that. If you threw it into hot water, it would just try and jump out immediately.
Yeah.
It's the same thing here. You don't walk into a room and the chaos is going on. No, you walk into the room and everything seems okay, and then it starts to escalate. Next thing you know, you're in it. And next thing you know, something bad has happened and you didn't detach in time, so you lost the bubble and you lost control and everything went sideways. So you got to understand when it is you need to detach. You got to have your own personal red flags to tell you that it's time to relax. When you feel yourself getting frustrated, when you start getting like that, you need to detach. If you're getting flustered, you go back, okay, detach. If you start feeling angry, or you start feeling the white knuckles, or you start pecking hard at the keyboard, right?
Sure.
Right? When you type an email out and you're hitting the keyboard hard,
Yeah, it's an indicator.
Indicator,
for sure.
You better not hit send, because whatever you wrote isn't good. It's not going to solve any problems. Your raised voice, right? You start raising the voice, you start getting angry and aggro with people. Those are the little things. Those are the little indicators that tell you need to detach, step back, take a breath, look around, walk out of the room, put your weapon at high port, just relax. Sometimes what the reason you need to detach is just so you can see something from a different angle. And you can ask a question. I personally love doing this. I'm in a meeting, right? And I work with a bunch of businesses. And it actually gets pretty, I'm getting involved in what they're doing. And they'll be all basically staring at a problem, right? Staring at a problem, and they can't figure out what the solution, whether it's a leadership problem or a process problem, and they're all staring at this problem. And they can't come to a solution. Well, I come in, first of all, I'm totally detached, right? Yeah. It's one of the benefits of my job is I'm totally detached. So when I come in, a lot of times what I bring to the situation, or what I can see, is I can just ask a question that none of them could think to ask, because they're all looking in the same direction. As soon as you flank that idea, you see it from a different angle, you come up with a solution. So my point in this is, don't only use detachment to prevent your emotions from driving your decisions. Also, use detachment as part of your creative process to detach from your current thought pattern and move to a new thought pattern where you can create new ideas and different plans from different angles that were not seen from your previous vantage point. I hear that I'm over 40, I'm pushing 50, whatever. Bring it. Back off, negative, not happening. In fact, I'm stepping it up. I'm training harder, eating cleaner. I'm training more. I'm learning and reading and studying more now than I ever have in my whole life. Do I get dinged up? Of course I do. Do I take some injuries? Yeah. You know what? No factor. No factor. Deal with them. Because you know what? You know what I hear? I hear the clock ticking. That's what I hear. And the end is nigh, and time waits for no man. And you young guns out there, 18 years old, 20 years old, 24 years old, listen. Life goes by, and it goes by quick. Don't waste those years. Don't waste them. Live them. Now, I know. I know that you don't think you're going to live to be 30, much less 40, but you are and you will. And the earlier you get in the game and get on track, the better life you're going to have. Healthier, wealthier, stronger, smarter, better. Better. And if you're an old man like me and you haven't gotten on track yet, get on track. Get on it now. Everyone listening to this, here's the deal. No complacency. No complacency. No backing off. No slack whatsoever. Fight. Fight that ticking clock with everything you got. So, like the end of a hard day, you can put your head down with ease. Satisfied that you've given your best.